There are cases in the history of crime that transcend the courtroom and ignite the very fabric of a society's conscience. The murder of Vincent Chin is one of those cases, a brutal crime that forever changed the landscape of racial injustice in America. But this isn't just a story about a man's tragic death. It's about the ripple effect of hate, the consequences of unchecked racism, and the fight for justice that spanned decades. Vincent Chin was a 27-year-old Chinese-American man, an innocent victim of a hate crime that would shock the nation. On the night of June 19, 1982, in Detroit, Michigan, Vincent found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time. He had just celebrated his upcoming wedding with friends at a strip club. What should have been a joyous night took a tragic turn when a confrontation with two white men, auto workers enraged by the loss of their jobs to foreign competition, particularly from Japan, would leave Chin dead, his life extinguished in an instant. The violence that erupted that night would not only take Vincent Chin's life, but would become a symbol of racial tensions in the heart of America. The two men, Ronald Ebbins and his stepson, Michael Nitz, had been drinking heavily at a nearby bar. The collapse of the American auto industry and the rise of Japanese imports had fueled their anger and frustration. In their eyes, the economic hardship they were facing was the fault of people like Vincent Chin, Asian Americans, who they unfairly blamed for the loss of their livelihoods. As the evening wore on, the two men began to target Vincent Chin, calling him racial slurs and accusing him of taking away their jobs. The confrontation outside the bar escalated quickly. Ebbins and Nitz, armed with a baseball bat, viciously attacked Vincent Chin. As Vincent tried to flee, he was pursued by the two men, who caught up to him and struck him repeatedly in the head with the bat. The final blow left Vincent Chin bleeding on the pavement, his skull crushed, his life slipping away. The police arrived at the scene too late, and Vincent was rushed to the hospital, but it was clear he was not going to survive. The once vibrant man who had dreamed of starting a family was now clinging to life, and just 4 days later, he was pronounced dead. His death was a devastating blow, but the true horror was yet to come. The aftermath of the murder should have been straightforward. Ebbins and Nitz were arrested, and the world expected swift justice. But the legal system would fail Vincent Chin in ways that still echo today. The trial was a farce. Ebbins and Nitz were charged with second-degree murder, but the prosecutor, in an extraordinary and shocking move, allowed the two men to plea down to manslaughter, a conviction that carried no prison time. Instead, the judge, who was sympathetic to the defendants, handed down a sentence of only 3 years probation and a $3,000 fine. There was no prison time for the men who had taken Vincent Chin's life. This leniency sparked outrage across the Asian American community. The decision was seen as a gross miscarriage of justice, and people wondered how such a brutal murder could result in such a minimal punishment. It wasn't just the Asian American community that was outraged. It was anyone who believed in justice. This case would become a turning point for the Asian American civil rights movement, igniting protests and raising awareness about racial violence in America. But the story didn't end there. Vincent Chin's mother, Lily Chin, would become a symbol of resilience and determination. She refused to accept the injustice that had been done to her son. She fought relentlessly, going to the media, to the courts, and to anyone who would listen, demanding that the men who had killed her son be held accountable. Her efforts led to the reopening of the case on federal charges, and in 1984, the two men were tried again, this time for violating Vincent Chin's civil rights. The trial this time would be different. The public outcry, the grassroots support from the Asian American community, and the work of civil rights activists made sure of that. Ebbins and Nitz faced stiffer charges, but despite the overwhelming evidence of their guilt, the verdict was once again a slap in the face to justice. In a cruel irony, the jury acquitted both men. The legal battle for Vincent Chin's justice would continue long after his death. His case highlighted the deep-seated racism that still plagued America, even in the 1980s, and would spark widespread protests and calls for reform. It also underscored the need for stronger hate crime laws, something that would become a central focus of advocacy in the years to come. What should have been a simple case of justice for a murdered man became a landmark moment in the fight for equality. Vincent Chin's death was not in vain. His name and the injustice that followed would fuel a movement for justice that would go on to change laws and policies across the nation. In the years since, many have reflected on the true cost of the murder of Vincent Chin. It wasn't just the loss of a son, a brother, and a fiancé. It was the loss of faith in the legal system, the anger of a community who had been silenced, and the recognition that racial violence still had a grip on America's heart. Vincent Chin's death was a painful reminder of the pervasiveness of hate, but it was also the catalyst for change. In the end, while the legal system failed Vincent Chin, his memory and his fight for justice lived on. The case of Vincent Chin helped to spark an era of advocacy for Asian Americans and people of color who had long been overlooked by a system that favored the powerful. Though his killers never truly paid for the crime they committed, Vincent Chin's name is forever etched in the history of the civil rights movement. Justice may not have come in the form we expected, but in the end, Vincent Chin's death set into motion a powerful call for change that still resonates to this day. It's a tragic story, one filled with irony and injustice, but ultimately, it's a reminder that justice may take time, but it will always rise. Join the movement for awareness and justice. Like, subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell to stay updated.